Hi there, Tarot Tube. Today is December 3rd, 2017, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different from what we usually do today. We're going to do a 5-card spread, and this was one of my favorite spreads to do with new people when I'm trying to get to know them. This spread, it doesn't so much intuit, like a ton about like where your situation's going to head, though it does have an outcome card. It's really more about you personally, and it's a great way to sort of reflect on your life situation and what you might have to learn in order to come to some kind of level of spiritual awakening. So this is a 5-card spread. I'm working with Rider-Waite, and there are no reverses. So we're going to begin with card 1. Card 1 represents your present situation. These are things that are going on right now in your life which are very important to you. They're very important and very formative to your life, and we'll be discussing that. This card right here, this represents your past. So these are things which occurred in probably the recent past, which have an impact on your present situation. There's some kind of like lingering effects of those. This one represents your skills, so this is what you are good at, and this one represents your motivations, the things that you want out of life, and we're going to discuss whether they, are in conflict, or whether they're in harmony. And then finally, this represents the most likely outcome. Just quickly. Everything here looks pretty positive. I don't see any major warnings jumping out. I do see, some pentacles, some cups, lots of cups over here, lots of pentacles over here, which is definitely relevant, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So, to begin, your present situation, it's going to involve either one of two things. That'll either be like you are on a project that involves like a lot of very like close ties, a lot of teamwork. Basically, you trust your team, and your team is capable of delivering the results that you expect to deliver out of this project. This is a great card, if you're working on like a task force, if you have like a really like close-knit community at work. If you're doing something new with your family, it's a great card to get for that. It does tend to represent sort of like practical outcomes rather than like emotional ones. So like while your team, you may have like this emotional bond, and that's one of the things that makes you, capable of doing what you do. That's really not the focus of this card. The focus is some kind of like a practical outcome. And this bodes well for whatever project you're working on. It does say that like you are likely to come out of this project, as a success. Now, the past, the things that have an impact on this. This card's all about. This is 7 of Pentacles. 7 of Pentacles is all about reaping what you've sown. It's about sort of like this moment of contemplation before a harvest, where you look at all the work that you've done, and you sort of just like are in awe at the fact that you've been able to accomplish something. You haven't yet, achieved the actual materialization of that, but it's within reach. All you got to do is a little bit more work, and this is just sort of like a moment of pride. It's when you look at your farm, you see all the wheat, and you're like, well, it's mine. Like what can go wrong at this point? It's important to be careful here, because while it may seem like a completely certain thing, there's still plenty of things that can go wrong, and so it's important to remain diligent, remain work, and trust your team. So you may feel as though you've earned what you have, and that's secure, and it might be, but I'm definitely going to recommend that you count on your team to help you with that. Now, moving on to your skills. This is the 10 of Cups. So 10 of Cups is an interesting card in this position. 10 of Cups typically refers to like peace. It refers to joy and family matters. I always think of it as sort of like a card that kind of represents like the end of a movie where you know, there was some major conflict, like maybe a major war or something, and then it all worked out for the protagonists, and you know, they're with their family, they're there with their kids, and you know, the major conflict's over, and they just you know, they're just kind of like enjoying life. And in this position, what this tells me is that you are a person who is capable of experiencing true joy. Now, I think that everybody kind of knows, they have like a sense for what joy is, but there are people who are just much better able to find joy in like the little things. The people who, like, you know, will, it's dumb, but I think of the scene in American Beauty when the guy is looking at the bag and he just thinks it's very beautiful. It's like your ability to find this in every situation is it's a very powerful skill. It's something that not everybody has, and it's something that, you know, it's kind of, it can be contagious. Like people who are super positive, who can find the joy in everything, they have a tendency to bring that energy to the people around them, you know, their team, and that's a really, really positive influence. And so I think that what we're saying with this card in this position is that that's ultimately what you bring to the table on your team. Now, okay, this card represents ambitions, and your ambitions here with Six of Cups is essentially that you know, it's a card of nostalgia. It's a card of like fond memories. And so what I think we're seeing here is that, like, you've been thinking a lot lately about the future. You've been thinking a lot about, you know, you're going to grow to a ripe old age, and you want for your memories during this time to be happy ones. And, you know, you are really definitely thinking about the future. I see that a lot with the Ten of Cups as well. It's a very future-oriented card. You're thinking, where will I be when I'm 99? You know, will I be happy? Will I be content with what I've done? And you know, the only way you're going to get there is to work hard and to remain positive, and just remain as positive as possible, because the way that you interpret the events that are occurring right now, they will color your memories of them in the future. And this is incredibly important to you, as indicated by this card. You know, you really want to build sort of like a lasting, not so much legacy, but, you know, a personal memoir or something. You really want to be able to reflect on it in the future and say, I have done well. And now, the most likely outcome is Temperance. So Temperance, I've talked about Temperance a lot. We were getting that, you know, quite frequently about, you know, a month or so ago. And Temperance is all about internal balance. Now, you can compare this card to Justice, which is about external balance, and sort of like, you know, Justice is all about you know, right and wrong, and some kind of like a legal outcome or something like that. Temperance is internal. Temperance is about achieving some kind of emotional balance, and a balance between the different levels of your consciousness. The two cups that she's holding represent the higher levels of consciousness and the lower levels of consciousness, and the water that we see there is flowing between both of them, indicating that consciousness flows both ways. It's not just the lower levels, it's not just the higher levels, and one isn't in charge of the other. They're both important. And, you know, through the water, through the land, and the mountains, and the sun, we have sort of the Jungian four levels of consciousness, being the unconscious, the preconscious, the conscious, and the superego. And we see that she's got a foot in both the unconscious and the preconscious, which tells us that, you know, she primarily operates in the lower levels of consciousness. You know, that's where the balance is ultimately happening and experienced. But it is important to remember that the higher levels of consciousness are capable of bringing that to us. So, you know, us, you know, taking some specific effort to, you know, focus our energies, do mindfulness meditations, these kinds of things, we'll be pushing that down. That balance down to those levels of consciousness where they can be experienced, and also, you know, focusing on the superego, looking into spirituality, you know, doing something, for instance, like tarot, helps to bring us a lot of that balance from the level of the superego. And so this bodes well for your future. This says that, you know, the things that you have set out to accomplish with your team, the things that you've worked so hard for, what you bring to the table, and what you're looking for, through all of this, you are going to achieve some real internal balance, and that's going to bring you some real joy. Like, you will actually find yourself there being happy. You will find yourself with these positive memories because the entire time you were able to find joy in your life. Okay, that was a fun read. Today was December 3rd. Tune in tomorrow. I'm going to be doing this every day at 9 a.m. Please like and subscribe. You know, that's the only kind of feedback I get. You know, I'm doing these for free, and you know, just give me that thumb up. That's sweet, sweet social proof. In any case, be well. Love you all.